Hi, I'm Jake and I've been drawing Pokemon since I was 7 years old. A few weeks ago I held my first art competition to celebrate hitting 1k subs on YouTube. I asked you guys to submit Greek Zodiac inspired Fakemon and I picked one winner per Zodiac, and in today's video I'm going to redraw 4 of those winning entries. So before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe and all that good stuff.
First up for a redraw is Aries, and the winning submission was from Captain Astral on YouTube. So I really liked the idea behind these two. They were really creepy and I liked the aesthetic of them. They were quite different to the goat Pokemon I already have in the region. So the first stage was a really cute lamb-like Pokemon, and I wanted to try and draw it in a pose where it was jumping because that's what lambs do. I won't lie to you, but drawing sheep skulls is not my forte. So I decided to try and keep the face head on to avoid trying to draw a skull from the side and work out where all the eye sockets go and stuff like that. I really like this pose in the end. I think it just adds a little bit more character, makes it a bit more playful as a first stage Pokemon. I really liked how Captain Astral made the flames coming out of its eye sockets look like horns without it actually having horns. So to really convey the fact that these are flames and not real horns, I made them a bit less symmetrical and gave them a few flickers of fire here and there. So this is Flambar, the Burning Eyes Pokemon. From the moment it's hatched, Flambar have one ambition: to use their heads in the heat of battle. Although they may appear cute, be warned when you approach them. Their flames are as hot as their burning passion for battle. It's a pure fire type with the ability Flash Fire. For Flambar's evolution, I really liked how Captain Astral posed it. I thought it was a good way to imply that sacrifice theme. But I wanted to change it up because I thought that theme could still come across in its dex entry while giving a bit more movement to its design and hopefully a better read on its proportions and body shape. Side note, I think that this is probably the most dynamic pose that I've ever done, and I'm really proud of it. I really wanted to convey that this mon was charging straight at you with flaming horns and a cape of flames flowing behind it, and that's the way that it's going to attack, by headbutting things. I had to clarify with Captain Astral if the horns were solid or still made of fire, and he confirmed that they're just hotter and more well controlled, but they're still flames, and I think that's really cool. I just added the little dots in the middle just to confirm that they were still eye sockets. The final alteration that I made to the Pokemon was giving it the ability Reckless to boost those recoil moves, as I thought that this would be Pokemon's way of representing that theme of sacrifice, like really strong attacks that also cause harm to the user. I thought that it fit it a bit better than weak armor. Introducing Aries, the sacrifice Pokemon. They train tirelessly, sacrificing sleep, food and social interaction to continue hitting its head against anything it can find to strengthen its skull. It often takes massive amounts of damage by training this way. Their flames are powered by its blazing drive to become stronger. It's a fire and ghost type with the ability Reckless, and to match that ability I gave it a moveset full of recoil moves like Flare Blitz and Head Smash. I also gave it a new move called Strife Strike, which would be a ghost type move and deal a little bit of damage with priority to the target, but cause a little bit of recoil damage to the user. Going in Zodiac order, the next one is Taurus, and like I said in the other video, Shaney Boy's submission was actually the first contest entry that I received, and I was just blown away with how whimsical and how cute it looked. And I had this visual of it floating over the field's Viopa with these like rock solid heads but a gaseous body. I just thought it was a really cool aesthetic and very cool idea. I just wanted to tweak the pose ever so slightly to make it look like it was floating in midair and give a bit more movement to it. I played around with trying to put stars in the body, and in the end I just decided to draw them in myself. Because adding texture brushes to my designs isn't really something that I do. I feel like I'd have a bit of a signature style and I need to stick to it. So this is Meteor Calf, the calf Pokemon. Some people say that this Pokemon drifted down from space to graze on Earth's pastures. It is a peaceful Pokemon who silently drifts over fields at night. Each Meteor Calf have a meteorite on their head, unique with different patterns and craters. It's a rock and psychic type Pokemon with the ability Levitate. For Meteor Calf's evolution, I was really trying to travel Manatee vibes. Now, that might sound a little bit weird, but again, going back to that key visual I had in my head of this big cow-like Pokemon just floating over the fields, I thought that's how manatees float in rivers, but I want this guy to float in the sky. So to do that, I made its body a little bit chunkier than Shaney Boy's original drawing, and changed up its pose a little bit to make it look like its back end was floating away. I also think that there's a funny pun here because don't cows make a lot of gas? And this Pokemon is literally made of gas.
Introducing Taurus, the Moonhorn Pokemon. The meteorite on its head fuses with its horns as it grows. Scientists say that these Pokemon should not be able to float so easily, considering the weight of their rocky head, spine and tail. These nocturnal Pokemon are kept tied up in the day, so that they don't drift away from their trainers' farms. There are rumours that a Taurus once floated to the moon. It's a rock and psychic type Pokemon with the ability Levitate, and I tried to give it some moves that keep in that meteorite theme.
Next up we've got the Cancer redesigns, and I was really looking forward to these ones. They were submitted by Rapo Saracen Drawings on Instagram. I actually wasn't familiar with the Cancer mythology going into my contest, and learning about it I think it's a really cool underrated myth. So the myth comes from a crab was sent by Hera to distract Heracles when he was fighting the Hydra, but the crab was instantly crushed. So that's why I feel like the ghost type really fits well in this mythology and this Pokemon. Then, when I looked into it a bit more, I found that there was a real-life crab called a ghost crab, and it lived in Greece, so it was perfect. It was an immediate win for me. I just wanted to change up the roundness of the original design and give it a bit more of a square or angular look like the real-life ghost crab. I think it gives the Pokemon a bit more personality. Meet Crablemon, the sensitive Pokemon. If broken, their claws will never heal. Instead, it harbours the pain and carries it with it. Crablemon wander the rocky coasts of Iopa, seeking out people who are holding on to pain just like themselves. It's a pure ghost type with the ability Curse Body. I was really proud of the more dynamic pose that I managed to give Crablemon by making that pincer look like it's coming straight at you, and I really wanted to replicate that in this next evolution too. I feel like with other people coming up with the initial ideas and designs, it really gave me room as an artist to work on my posing and my dynamicness. Is dynamicness a word? I'm not too sure. Anyway, I wanted to say that this was probably the design that I was most looking forward to redrawing, and that's probably because what's cooler than a giant badass looking crab with a huge ghost claw? I did speak to the original artist and suggested that instead of giving it multiple ghostly limbs, we just honed in and really focused on that one ghostly claw, and I think it really makes the design much more effective. I spent a bit of time toying around with the antennas on its head. I mean, they're not really antennas, it's the crab eyes. But in speaking to the original artist, he was really keen that we kept just the singular eye, and again, I think it adds to the coolness of this Pokemon. So this is where I started playing around with the angles of the design, and I was hoping that some of the legs would look like they were scuttling toward you, because obviously crabs move side to side. I'm hoping that I achieved it. I mean, I'm really proud of it, and I'm just putting it out there. This Pokemon is 100% on my Iopa team, so hopefully you guys like it too. So Crablemon will evolve into Odidermo, the Spirit Guide Pokemon, a pure ghost type with the ability Curse Body. The pain it harboured as a Crablemon forms into a single ghostly claw. Because of this, the claw is capable of crossing the boundary between the living and the dead. As it understands others' pain, once its singular spectral eye spots a lost spirit, it will guide it to where it's meant to be. I had a lot of fun with this moveset as well. I thought it could learn moves like Shadow Claw, Psycho Cut and Crab Hammer, and I thought that Pain Split was a good way to tie in that dex entry. So the last star sign we're going to look at in this video is Gemini, and I had a lot of different submissions for this one, ranging from gem twins to twin-headed horses, but in the end I settled on this design by Speculative Wildlife, because I thought it was a really fun way of referencing the myth of Castor and Pollux. If you aren't familiar with the mythology of the twins, then I'll give you a very brief recap, because we are not getting into the nitty-gritty of it. It's very weird. Essentially, Zeus, disguised as a swan, seduced the twins' mother, and the mother gave birth to an egg which hatched into the twins. I don't know, man. Greek mythology is very odd. It's just best not to question it, I think. Anyway, when it came to the redrawing of these mons, I wanted to make them look a bit less realistic. And by doing that, I think I originally made them look a bit more like Psyduck. So then I played around with the proportions and the posing. I was a bit worried they kind of looked like Ducklet, which is already like a swan evolution line. But I thought that this was a good middle ground between Psyduck and Ducklet. I was really conscious not to over-design them because the whole gimmick of this Pokemon is that they travel around in pairs. They're like a pair of twins. And by over-designing them, you would distract from that. I really liked how one of the twins was a bit more shy and reserved, and the other was more excited and the leader of the two. Introducing Duokling, the twin Pokemon. Duokling are always found in pairs for survival, forming a strong bond as they grow. Paired Duokling tends to develop different personalities from one another, with the bravery of one complementing the cautiousness of the other. It's a normal and flying type Pokemon with the ability Gale Wings, and I tried to give it some moves that referenced the twins, like Double Slap and Double Team. Now, I'm not usually a lover of goofy, gimmicky Pokemon, but something about Duokling's evolution really captivated me. I think probably it's just because it's so unique and I've never really seen anything like it. The idea is really clever of combining the two twin swans with a biplane and then the aesthetics of old aviation hats. I also thought it would be the perfect addition to Zenon's team. He's a Zeus-inspired character, but I don't want my characters to be type specialists. I want them to have very varied teams. So Zenon's team wouldn't just be electric types. It would be made up of Pokemon that remind you of him and all the different mythologies associated with Zeus. Like fathering a child disguised as a swan. I found myself really struggling with drawing the wings, and I wanted to introduce a bit more variation between the two swans. So when I was doing some googling about biplanes, I found that the two sets of wings have different functions. The bottom is more about lift and the top is all about stability, so I tried to replicate that in the design by having the bottom wings a bit more chunky and the top a bit more aerodynamic. I also extended the scarf on the bottom one to kind of remind me of like I don't know if they're wires or rods going between the two wings. I also found out that swans mate for life, so this pair idea really works. Introducing Swandom, the twin Pokemon. These Pokemon always fly together, stacking on top of one another to better ride the wind currents above Iopa. In battle, one Pokemon will focus on launching attacks, while the other handles staying in the air. They only join forces for complex aerial maneuvers or to launch a powerful attack. It's a normal and flying type Pokemon with the ability Gale Wings. It's a speedy mixed attacker, and I thought that the move Dual Wing Beat was perfect for it. If you got this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to me that people are enjoying Iopa. I had a blast making these guys. It was so much fun working with different artists and understanding their ideas and working together to make suggested improvements. So hopefully you'll join us next time where we redesign 4 more Zodiac Fakemon. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!